Hey everybody, it's Chris. Before we get this episode started, I wanted to remind you that we're going to be headed out to Vegas this August 26th, 27th, and 28th for a podcast meetup. A bunch of podcasters and myself have become friends over Twitter, and we thought it would be a good idea to get together and meet for the first time. So we're all getting together in Vegas this summer, and you're welcome to join us. Mackenzie Boaz from the Rebel Scum Report called it Viva Pod Vegas. I like the sound of that, so we might just go with that. It's going to be a gathering of Afterburn 739, the Mr. BS Show, From Ear to Table, the Classy Little Podcast, Alternate Endings, That Man on Fat Man, Rebel Scum Report, myself, and possibly a few others may be joining us. We're going to be hitting the strip, recording some podcast episodes, and doing a whole bunch of things that our mamas told us not to do. So if you're looking for an excuse to head out to Vegas this August, we're going to give you one. Come on out, join us in Vegas. We promise you it'll be a great time. And now, on with the show.
The following program is intended for mature audiences.
Hey everybody, welcome to Faces and Aces Las Vegas, a podcast where we share great Vegas stories and talk to the people who make Vegas a fantastic place to visit. This week is a special episode because it's our 1-year anniversary. Well, technically our 1-year anniversary is May 31st, but since our next episode doesn't come out until after the 31st, we're going to go ahead and do it here. And I just wanted to take a minute to thank all the people who have come on the show to share their fun, amazing stories. And I'd also like to thank everyone who's listening to the podcast. I've learned so much from so many of you, and I can't thank you enough. And last, I'd like to thank other podcasters who have inspired me and helped me to improve this show. From the Las Vegas podcast community to the Pottern family community. There's way too many podcasts to name, so I'll just say this. I've made some new friends from starting this show, and for me, that's worth more than all the money in the Bellagio vault on a title fight weekend. And speaking of new friends, joining me on this show is the host of the Alternate Endings podcast, the Popcorn with Candy podcast, and the soon-to-be-released Dave podcast. Please welcome to the show, Octopus Caveman.
Thanks for having me on, man.
Hey, thanks for coming on.
So I've got the 1-year anniversary congratulations hashtag that everybody should tweet out at you. You got to go with May the 31st to be with you.
It is the paper anniversary, is it not?
It is, yeah.
All right, man, send me money.
I'm going to send you a mock-up of a sad Tubman.
See, nobody here knows what that is yet.
They will. So I'm just going to drop so many inside jokes from the Dave podcast that people are just going to be intrigued and have to listen.
Well, the Dave podcast that has yet to be released, that's a new show that Octopus Caveman and I are working on, and that's part of the reason why I wanted to have him on this show to introduce this audience to the new podcast that will be coming out called Dave.
This is a huge honor, man. I love the show, and here I am. First anniversary episode. I'm on it.
Well, I mean, we've become fast friends.
Yeah.
I mean, we met on Twitter, and it's my pleasure to have you on the show, man. It's great. I'd like to introduce everyone to the guy who I find ridiculously funny, and the chemistry between us, it's just very natural.
This is going to be just a love fest.
So, I figure you could hang out with me, and then towards the end of this episode, instead of doing the typical 1-year anniversary, hey, let's play some old clips from the show, or let's... I don't know what people do on their... What do people do on their 1-year anniversary?
You know, my 1-year anniversary, it was like go back to the spot where you got married, maybe, something like that, you know?
Okay, now I feel bad for not having Katie and Aaron on the 1-year anniversary. But they are actually out in Vegas right now, so they wouldn't be able to be on.
We should go back to your first episode and just like tear it apart and just be like, what were you thinking? Because everybody, I think, has an embarrassing first episode, right?
Oh, we don't.
No, Dave is solid. Dave is all 10.
Not to brag, but I'm really proud of that first episode we put out. And we're going to give you guys, the audience, a taste of that first episode if you'll indulge us. The way we're going to structure this show is Octopus Caveman is going to tell his what happened in Vegas story. And instead of doing the regular interview at the end of the show, we're going to give you a taste of episode 1 of Dave. And if you do dig it, subscribe to the Dave podcast when it comes out on Memorial Day weekend.
Giving everybody a little taste of Dave.
Yeah. The Dave podcast will be coming out on Memorial Day weekend, so you'll get a taste of that a little bit later on. But before we get into any of that, I just got back from Vegas.
How was it?
Dude, it was an awesome trip. First, let me say thank you to Mark and Tony from the 360 Vegas podcast, not to be excluding Karen and Alistair, who are also on that show. Man, they hosted an amazing Vegas event. They scheduled a whole bunch of cool stuff to do, and they left it, wide open. So just drop in at any time. So any given time, where everybody is. You could leave the group, rejoin the group. It was super cool. Bunch of cool places we ate. It was just an amazing, well-planned trip, and so I appreciate that. And big ups to those guys for pulling it off in such a great way.
So the big question: where'd you get your steak this trip?
I didn't do a steak this trip. I didn't have time. I didn't have time. Also, they had meals planned, and I tried to join as many of those as I could. And so one of them was at Tacos and Tequila over at the Luxor. We did Pizza Rock downtown Las Vegas. They had a couple of other ones, but I mostly wanted to stick around with the group, so I didn't get to do a steak. Yeah,
you got to do two next time you go back.
Well, I got to say, Tacos and Tequila, the carne tacos are pretty damn good. So
Tacos and tequila, that's just like the contents of your stomach, like after a hard night of partying,
So one of the cool things that happened on the trip was I played craps for the first time.
Craps is one of those things where I've played it before. I've always played it super like blackout, what I call like a level of drunk that you can't achieve in California, Vegas drunk. And I don't know, I couldn't tell you anything about the game. I know there's dice involved and the betting is very confusing. But I've played it a couple of times drunk, and it's just one of those things where it just totally goes away. I don't know if it comes back to me. Like, I have this theory that maybe you have drunk memories and sober memories, where you're like, oh, I don't remember that at all. And then you get the drinks flowing, and you're like, oh, yeah, I totally remember that. Like if Jekyll and Hyde had their own separate memory banks.
Yeah. What kind of drunk are you? Are you an angry drunk? Are you a lovey drunk?
I've been it all, man. For the most part, I'm not an angry drunk. Like I think I'm good time drunk and then just obnoxious drunk.
I'm tired drunk.
I get that too.
Yeah, eyelids close halfway, and I'm just like, all right, I'm good for bed.
There's something about Vegas that just keeps you on your feet when you shouldn't be. If I got that drunk at home, I would have been asleep 12 drinks ago. But in Vegas, it's like the lights and the sounds and that, all that fresh air pumping in. Yeah. There's something about it that just keeps you on your feet. See, I think I get to a level where I think I am, but I'm just horribly obnoxious. That's what I call partying like a rock star. My definition of partying like a rock star is when I'm having a great time and nobody else is.
Wait, that's rock star level when you're the only one having a good time and everybody else is pissed off.
Yeah, because of me. Yeah. That's the new definition of partying like a rock star.
Oh, one bummer thing that did happen is I went to go valet park my car at Planet Hollywood, but I just needed to take my bags up, drop them in the room, come back down, and then I was back out to go to meet everybody for dinner. So I did that. After that, like in the evening to valet my car again, I reach over and my iPod was gone.
Oh, no.
So someone over at Planet Hollywood has sticky fingers, and be careful when you valet your car, man, because I totally forgot to take it with me. I'm usually very good about that, but one of those things.
Dude, bummer. I thought this story was going to have a happy ending somehow.
And I know it's a little bit of a downer, but it's like people should know.
Putting you on blast, Sly Stallone.
So one cool thing that I did get to do is I met with someone over at the Marvel Avenger Station, which is opening June 1st over at Treasure Island. I'm trying to get an interview with someone who could, tell me about the attraction and show me around because I'm a nerd. I dig that kind of stuff. And super cool people over there. And I keep my fingers crossed that they're going to give me the interview. I did a pre-interview with them. They wanted to know what this show was about. And I take it that they're going to probably listen to a couple of episodes and get back to me. So probably not. But it was really nice, huh?
I mean, if they listen to some of the more recent ones, you're probably safe. I mean, if they get into Kylo Ben and the spanking story, maybe not.
Yeah, yeah, because the person told me that they have to check with Marvel before accepting any kind of interview request, and Marvel has to approve it. And so when I made that turn towards a more adult show not that long ago, she said, is your show dirty or clean? I said, well, it's mostly clean. I have 3 explicit episodes, and I clearly list that on iTunes, but for the most part, it's been clean. But when she told me that, I just kind of went, damn it.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I mean, this hasn't ever been a rated X show. I mean,
No.
I don't think it's ever even been rated R. I would say probably PG-13 at worst.
Yeah, I mean, we've let a couple of curse words fly, and that's at the worst. It's never been objectionable content. So hopefully they'll listen to this show and tell me that I could come by and check out the Iron Man and Hulk and all that cool stuff that they got at the Avenger Station. It looked pretty cool.
That would be amazing. It's going to be a cool place, I'm sure. I'm going to have to make it down there when they open that up.
Yeah, just from the videos that I've seen online, because this was an attraction over in New York for a while in Times Square. But this one, from what I've seen online, they have movie props, they have interactive displays. Looks really cool. I'm looking forward to it, and apparently it's going to be there for a long time. They signed a 10-year lease, so it's not one of those things that's like, oh, it's gone in a couple years because it was so bad. No, they've made a commitment to this. So
they should do a restaurant, right?
All right, what kind of food are they selling at that restaurant?
I mean, I don't know. Like the Star Trek experience had like a great restaurant,
Yeah.
you know, and you could get like whatever, the Warp Core. I think it was a Warp Core. The Warp Core was like a club sandwich.
I thought you were going towards, you can order a nice slice of Captain America pie or...
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm thinking is, you know, like for some reason, I think the Captain America should just be like the grand slam at Denny's. There's something so American about, 2 eggs, 2 sausage, 2 bacon.
Or like Thor's hammer sandwich.
Oh, dude, that was good. Thor's hammer. There's something so appealing to me about thinking about Marvel characters running the restaurant, just Wolverine using his like claws to cut fries.
Hey, are you a cigar fan?
I am.
Oh, okay. In that case, when we go out there in August, we have to go to the Monte Cristo Cigar Bar in Las Vegas. I checked that out. They have a soft opening right now, and I went there with Kyle after we were done with all the evening, and I was dropping him off over at Caesars, and I said, "Oh, didn't they open that new cigar bar there?" And he said, "Yeah, I went there last night. It was great." So I said, "Will you please show me?" And he showed me, and oh, buddy, I just had a delicious cigar there. It was really good, really smooth.
Oh, nice.
Awesome. So I got to take you there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm no aficionado, but I appreciate, a good cigar. I love me some Churchills, just a big, giant, long one, and just like a whole night,
Yeah.
One of those like a 3 Scotch cigar,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, what I dug about the place, it had like the nice leather chairs and stuff like that. It was almost like a gentleman's club type feel, like not a strip joint, but like a gentleman's club, like the old
Right,
school.
a true gentleman's club.
Yeah. Not Spearmint Rhino's Gentleman's Club, but an actual, the old school. Like, they need a pool table in there. That's all they were missing. So that was really cool. Just hanging out, chilling. Good place, man. I got to take you there when we go.
Definitely a way better use of your time than a gentleman's club.
So the trip was good. That's pretty much it. Like, the only last thing that I did, like the thing that I was really happy about was for a couple days I lived like a king. I probably spent a few $100s on all the different things that we were doing. And the last night I was there, I won that back at Planet Hollywood. So it was a paid for trip.
What'd you win playing?
Blackjack. I threw money away on craps. Like craps, I just lost like $150. But blackjack, I just had a good run. Like 2 good shoes put me right back on top.
That's killer.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so-
craps, I don't know. It's too confusing for me to ever really figure out if I could win at it.
Yeah, well, it was the communal experience of playing with everybody at craps, and then also I wanted to learn how to play because it's been kind of building that I don't play. So I wanted to learn this trip. So again, thanks to Kyle for teaching me, but it was like $150 lesson.
See, I got to try that one sober.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah. Yeah. It's not that hard once you get the hang of it. But there are so many things written down on the felt, the come and 7 and this and that and pass, and it's very confusing looking at it. But once you get the hang of it, it's pretty easy.
The sports book is where it's at for the crazy betting, though. I mean, you head over there, and like at 3 o'clock in the morning, they've got like New Zealand chariot races you can bet on.
Yeah.
There's dudes playing them.
Yeah. They have like chicken races coming out from Mexico.
Oh, dude, I would love that. But I mean, the casino in Vegas Vacation would be my favorite. Pick a hand.
You and I should do an episode where we talk about Vegas Vacation.
Oh, for sure. I love that movie.
Okay. So the last part of that story is I had the whole trip paid for almost exactly to the dollar, like including all the tips that I gave out, including like gas money that I spent to get there. It was all covered. It was good. I was so proud of myself. So on the way back out, I had to stop by Jean, Nevada, where Gold Strike is, because I had an interview with the general manager of the Gold Strike to do.
Oh, nice. Bonnie and Clyde car is there, right?
No, that's
Prim.
Prim.
No. That's Prim. Jean is where the Nevada Landing, the old riverboat, used to be. Yeah, it was right across the street from the Gold Strike. They had the Nevada Landing, which is that old big white riverboat.
You're right.
Yeah, I used to stay there. I loved that place.
I totally forgot about that. Oh my God, that's a great memory.
It was a fantastic place. They had cheap lobster tails. That's the first place I ever gambled.
Oh, is it really?
It is, yeah. I went there at 18 and was gambling, and I got asked to leave because apparently it's 21.
Who knew? Oh, wait, everybody knows.
I was 18. I didn't know.
Boy, my first gamble trip. I think my first gambling trip may have been at the Imperial Palace.
All right, that's a good one.
Yeah, way back in the
I'm
day.
surprised, though. See, I could only make it as far as Gene before I was like, I got to play something, you know?
I mean, don't get me wrong. I've stopped at Prim and played. Like, you got to use a restroom. You pull over. It's like, I'm here. I might as well.
Yeah.
Okay, but what happened was, so I got to the interview like 15 minutes early.
Oh, no.
And I said, I didn't get to play any Wheel of Fortune this trip. I'll just put in $20. No big deal. Okay. And then I saw one of those giant blackjack machines, the one that have the fake computer dealer on the giant screen.
Yep.
And I said, I've never done that before either. I might as well try that. Let's put another $20 here. $70 later.
Oh.
So I almost left a winner.
Yeah, you still came out on top. $70. You got a lot of good stuff done. Had a good time.
Yeah, that's gas money. I just think of that as gas money.
Dude, you got to do a road trip episode one of these days and just talk about all the stuff that's on the way. Because that LA to Vegas is such a popular trip. Like, Alien Fresh and like all the weird, Ron Paul signs that are there. That would be a fascinating episode, I think.
Oh, yeah. All the weird, odd Jesus signs that are out in the middle of the desert. Like you're driving up the 15 and you see just these weird painted, like someone took their white picket fence and broke it apart and took all the pickets, and every half mile they wrote down one of the 10 commandments.
Right. Yeah, those are bizarre. And then the weird abandoned water park.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
In Newberry Springs. I went there when I was a kid. It was called Oasis.
Yeah.
And then they changed it to Rockahoda. And my buddy Andrew, he went there, and there's still a bunch of stuff in there. He went there recently and took like 5 rafts. They had these big giant Rockahoda rafts for their lazy river. He's got them in his garage.
They don't need it anymore. I'm down with that.
Yeah, it's just like a shutdown water park. There's so much weird stuff on that trip, but that would be a fascinating listen.
Yeah, I think at one point I've tweeted out the sign for Zizek's Road.
You know about geocaching?
No, what's that?
Geocaching is like, as soon as you were able to get GPS, people started doing these things where they would build like a little box and they'd bury it someplace and then just like post the coordinates. So you find these coordinates and then you go out there and you open it up, and they have like rules where you can take one thing from the box, but you have to put something back.
Interesting. And that's on the road to Vegas?
On Zizek's Road is the most geocaches of any place. I guess just because of the silly name. So there's a bunch of them right off of Zizek's Road. My brother got into it where there's geocaching with stamps. People will handcraft a stamp. And, let's say I take 8 hours and I handcraft a Charlie Brown stamp. Then I go bury it on Zizek's Road. and I'd post a picture of the stamp, and you can go out there, dig up the stamp it in your book along with the coordinates, and then bury it again for the next person. It's kind of a neat little community, but yeah, when he got into that, he was like, look at all these on Zizek's Road. And I was like, Jesus.
I think that may be an episode that you and I would have to do.
The geocaching would be fun to get into.
So that's it, man. That's pretty much the trip in a nutshell. Just a good Vegas trip. And, thanks to Mark and Tony and Karen and Alistair it was a great Vegas Vacation 3. Anybody who wants to go out there next year, do it. It's a great time. And good people, really good people come to these events. So you got one of the most amusing stories about Vegas that I've heard in a while. So you want to do the what happened in Vegas story time?
Yeah, this will be great.
Cool, man. Lay it on us.
So I had a buddy, Jimmy, who gave me a call, and he got offered some kind of gig driving a truck to the Bellagio from Bell Gardens. Apparently, the Bellagio does these awesome floral arrangements. I don't know how many people have been, but they do these great things. And apparently, he knew somebody who worked at the company who manufactured these big steel pieces. They would weld big butterflies to send to the Bellagio and set it up to put flowers in.
Right, yeah.
And he wasn't able to do it, so he was like, hey, you can work, and I forgot how much, but it was like a decent amount of money per hour, and you just drive a truck to Vegas, drive it back, and be easy.
Right, and Bell Gardens is a small city just outside of L.A.
Yeah.
So basically L.A. to Vegas, 4-hour drive.
Well, normally, in a normal car, it's about 4 hours, but we'll get into that.
Okay.
So I called these people and was like, hey, and they're like, well, Jimmy recommended you. Have you ever driven a big truck before? And I was just like, yeah, of course. Thinking like I'd driven like a pickup truck.
How much different can it be? First gear, second gear?
Yeah. Yeah, and I wasn't great on a stick, so step into an 18-wheeler when I showed up was pretty bold. But yeah, I got there, and they're like, "Yeah, we're gonna drive to Vegas. Then you'll rest for a little bit, then probably drive forklift. Have you driven a forklift? Yeah. So you'll do some forklift stuff, maybe stay for the weekend, and then you'll drive a truck back." I was like, "No problem, I got this." So I just hop into this truck and start cruising and get out of L.A. It's middle of the night when we left, and that thing was doing like 30 miles an hour up the hills. It was nuts. So it's normally a 4-hour drive turned into a 6-hour drive.
Ooh, that's
and
rough.
I don't know if this is standard truck stuff, because I'm not like a truck driving man. I failed pretty thoroughly at it my first go, but it seemed like the seat was intentionally uncomfortable.
Oh, to keep you up?
I think so. It sort of tilted you forward in a way. So like if I was going to fall asleep, I was going to face plant on the steering wheel.
Interesting. Okay.
This had to be like 10 years ago or something. I mean, I was early 20s, maybe 21 or 22, and just driving this truck, smoking a ton of cigarettes, no radio in the truck, just an uncomfortable seat, and me alone with my thoughts for 6 hours to focus on trying to figure out how to drive an 18-wheeler.
How much of that trip were you just white-knuckling the steering wheel?
Dude, the majority of it. And then just furious going up the hills. It's so different to drive a truck and have people just cutting around you on the highway because you're doing 30.
Yeah.
It was pretty miserable. And this is pre-cell phone. So my plan was get to Nevada, and I stopped at State Line. I went to Buffalo Bills. And the casinos, I have to say, are an amazing place to park a truck. Like, they've all got great truck sections and everything, especially those State Line ones. There's a reason the truckers go there. They're very accommodating. So I stopped at Buffalo Bills and made a phone call to the guy, and he was like, all right, when you get to the Bellagio, you're going to turn in, and you've got to make a left-hand turn. So sort of as you pull in off the strip, off of Las Vegas Boulevard there, you make a left into the Bellagio. And then he was like, you're going to have to make a left into the wrong way. It'll say do not enter, but you're going to have to go there. And you're going to have taxi cabs coming at you, but you're just going to have to charge it. You're bigger than them. Don't worry about it. So I'm like, all right, this sounds horrible, but Here we go. So I drove in, made it to the Bellagio, made my left, and sure enough, there's just tons of taxis coming out of this like exit. And I go to charge it, and I make my left turn, and in the background, in my rearview mirror, I just see a light fixture, like a big lamppost, go down. And I'm thinking, like, well, it's a light, like, it's probably no big deal. Like, I don't know. I just thought.
They're not going to care.
Yeah, I thought maybe they could just post it back up. So I managed to charge it. I was more concerned with like the taxi cabs coming at me at that point. So I pulled through, got out, and I was like, man, I knocked over a light pole back there. And it was not a little deal. Like it turned into a huge deal. And all these guys are running around. Dudes in suits from the Bellagio are coming up to me. And they're getting really close. One guy was like right in my face. I could tell he was like trying to smell my breath, but without just like, hey, have you been drinking? He was just like really close in my face. Then another guy's asking me like, well, do you have anything to drink? I'm like, no. And they're like, what about smoking? And I was like, yeah, I've been smoking like the whole way. And he was like, oh, okay. And I think he was asking me if I smoked like weed or drugs, and I was like, I was just saying like, yeah, I smoked cigarettes like the whole way. So I was like very concerned that I thought I had admitted to this dude that I smoked drugs.
Yeah.
So at one point, the guy who owned the company that did the guys I was working for that did the little skeletal structures for the flowers was like, yeah, you damaged the foundation. It's about $10,000 worth of damage.
Ooh. How did you damage the foundation?
I guess when I knocked over the light, it took up some concrete with it, and it's right there at the entrance, so it damaged part of the asphalt and everything right there in the front.
Were there any people around? Like, did you almost take someone out?
No, I mean, it was the middle of the night. I mean, I guess the worst it could have done is maybe hit a taxi cab. I'm glad it didn't do that, but
yeah.
So they're throwing about these numbers and then just clearly having a meeting about like what to do with me. I think the fact that they made me pull in the wrong way saved my ass a little bit there.
Oh my God. Because that's what the Bellagio people wanted you to do.
Yeah, they had asked me to basically violate the law. So I think they weren't able to really come after me for that. I don't know. It was very bizarre. And I had filled out no employee paperwork, nothing. I mean, I was just Johnny on the spot, like, yeah, I'll make that trip. So instead of having me stay and work, everybody was furious with me. So the dude in the suit that was smelling my breath took me underground to the Bellagio underground to the employee buffet so I could get something to eat.
Yeah.
And that was pretty awesome because it's like Star Trek down there.
Really?
Like, yeah,
what's that
you get
look like?
I mean, it's just like very stark white walls, but you've got all of these people in different uniforms walking around. You've got like the dealers cruising around in their uniforms, and you've got the food service people in their uniforms. I just remember thinking Star Trek. But you get in there, and I mean, they just have an employee buffet. It's a fantastic buffet. It's exactly like the one upstairs, but it's just all employees in there eating.
Oh, that's cool. Okay.
Yeah, it was all right. So I ate this just very nervous, weird meal down there, just like not sure about my future. And then the boss man came back and he was like, yeah, you're driving a truck back tonight. So at that point, I think I had been up for something like 9 or 10 hours with like the 6-hour drive, an hour of load time at the place, and then a couple hours sorting out what to do with me.
Yeah.
And they were just like, drive a truck back now. Like,
wow.
Okay. So I drove back, and it was like the timing was just perfect that I could hit horrible LA morning traffic on my way to Bell Gardens.
Oh.
So I think it ended up being something like a 22-hour day for me. And when I got back to Bell Gardens, there was just a dude with a check for me and was just like, nice meeting you. Adios,
Yeah. Yeah. Wait a minute. Okay. So you take out the lamppost, they unload the truck. Do you have to like back out into traffic?
No, I just left the thing there and took a different truck.
So basically, you just like ran over a lamppost.
Got something to eat and went home.
I was going to say destroyed Bellagio property, but what's a legally safe way to say that?
I don't know. I use an alias, man. I'll say destroyed. I wrecked that thing. It wasn't intentional.
Yeah, yeah. Well, congratulations, man. That's one of the most unique Vegas stories that I've ever heard. Wow. Have you driven a truck again?
I have, yeah. At another job, I ended up having to drive a dump truck full of gravel. Another thing that I was like, I got this. And I stalled it out in the middle of the road and like dumped half the gravel, just trying to get the thing started. It stalled out in the middle of an intersection. And like, I'm not great on a stick. I got to reiterate that. And trying to get this thing started again, it was just like lurching and shaking, and it just shook half the gravel load out. I'm not good at trucks, man.
And yet you keep taking truck gigs.
I mean, see, but I think it's a positive message in there about me. You know, I've got a can-do attitude. I've learned my limits. Not a great truck driver.
Yeah.
I'll stick to the luxury cars.
By the way, when we're going to Vegas in August, I'm driving.
Yeah, probably a good call.
All right. So let's move on to the rest of the show where we're going to do Dave.
Yeah, let's get into some Daves.
This show, the Faces and Aces show that I've been doing for the last year with Katie and Aaron and all the many guests and people who have come on the show, it's been a huge pleasure to do, huge enjoyment. But when you and I, a few weeks back, started doing the Dave podcast, it's just full of so much silliness and fun, completely different from this show. This show is pretty straight-laced. You know, we keep it rated PG, on occasion PG-13. But the other show is just a little bit more irreverent. It's just, I get to be more relaxed, and it's for the audience of people who want to hear just some really silly humor. So,
well, I mean, one of my ideas was doing the podcast Faces and Aces After Dark.
oh yeah. The R X-rated content of Faces and Aces.
I'm a huge Faces and Aces fan. I think it's a fantastic podcast. I like to think that it's definitely classier than Dave. Dave is fun, but Faces and Aces, man, you've really created an amazing show there, and the production is fantastic. I've loved every episode I've heard, and I've gotten through most of them. I think I jumped on about episode 13, and I've been kind of going back in the back catalog and checking them out. But I'm a huge fan. I think it's a fantastic show. I'm really honored to be on here, and congratulations on 1 year.
Oh, thank you, buddy. And I'm a fan of your shows too. I mean, I really do enjoy alternate endings. Popcorn with Candy is one. Well, you want to explain Popcorn with Candy?
Yeah, that's kind of my entry into podcasting. My brother Peter and I just decided we're going to do the films of John Candy and just talk about each one of them in chronological order. It's been a lot of fun, and that sort of taught us how to do podcasts. And then I got into through that, I met Tracy Morgan, who's writing the biography of John. We had her on Popcorn with Candy. We became friends, and then we decided to start a podcast together, Alternate Endings. Yeah, man, it went from there. As soon as I learned how to do it, I got into podcasting hard.
When Alternate Endings came out, because that's a relatively new podcast as well, but when I understood the concept for that show, that's when you caught my attention. I said, I got to work with that dude because that's just awesome. And Alternate Endings is a podcast where they will take a classic movie, an Octopus Caveman and Tracy Morgan, not Saturday Night Live Tracy Morgan, a different Tracy Morgan.
The better of the two.
Yeah.
I'll throw it out there. She's definitely the better looking of the two.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, most definitely. Most definitely.
This is the proper English woman, Tracy Morgan.
Yes. And you guys will come up with better endings for classic movies like Wizard of Oz, E.T.
I don't know about better, man.
Okay. Let's just stick with alternate endings for movies like Splash, Return of the Jedi, and it's just hilarious. And then also you have users submit their ideas for an alternate ending for the movie, and sometimes they're ludicrous, sometimes they're dirty, sometimes they just go in all different directions. So it's a great show. I love the idea for that show.
Yeah, I have a lot of fun doing it. It's a little tough starting out doing something that's so listener driven, but man, we're having a good time. They come out when they come out.
And so that leads us to Dave, how you and I met, just kind of admirers of each other's work, and we just hit it off right off the bat. So,
dude, and it's the most ludicrous idea in the world. I mean, I think I think our episode 0, I had to have had like 20 different ideas. This was going to be our Batman 66 podcast. And then, I had about 20 different ideas. We went with the stupidest one, and it's genius. It's beautiful. I love it so much.
We went with the one that both of us just, when the idea came up, we both just laughed so hard at the concept of doing a podcast about. I don't think we've even described what Dave is yet. Dave is a podcast where we're going to explore the world of the different Daves. We're going to cover David Bowie, David Tennant, David Lee Roth, anybody with the name Dave, first name, middle name, last name, Kristen Davis, Betty Davis, any kind of Dave, the statue David, we're going to cover it. We're going to talk about it. Hopefully you'll learn a little something and laugh along the way.
I just love that it seems to be such a free zone for digression. So, we go in so many different directions just with Dave. It's just been fascinating to me how it doesn't feel like we're working in a box.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. The conversation that you and I had about Dave Chappelle spurred a conversation about technology.
Yeah, and if we just allow ourselves to go where we're going to go with it, and I think it's fantastic. It's so goofy, but it's got a brilliant format, and you've edited it wonderfully. I'm all about Dave.
Thank you, buddy. Yeah, and the episode where, mind you, I'm speaking as if it's already released. We've pre-recorded several episodes already. We did an episode on the movie Dave, which spurred a discussion about politics. We're just going to go wherever the conversation takes us. In that case, since we were talking about the movie Dave, we just slid into politics and shared our points of view, and I think we did it in a funny way. I hope people find it funny. It's been a fun show to do. I look forward to it every week.
Yeah, me too.
So that's Dave, and what we're going to play next. At the moment of recording this episode, I don't know if I'm going to play for you a portion of episode 1, 2, or 3, maybe a combination of all three, the greatest hits.
Yeah, that could be a cool way to do it.
So we'll figure it out, and it's coming up next. Buddy, thanks for hanging out.
Anytime. It's a real pleasure to be on the anniversary episode.
Hey, where can people find you on Twitter or Facebook or any of that stuff?
People can check out my music. I'm out and about. I'm on the interwebs.
Okay, but Twitter's the best place to find you, and then go down that rabbit hole?
Yeah, if you want to actually interact with me, Twitter's probably the best.
Okay, cool. Where can they find your music?
Anywhere music is sold or stolen.
And with that, we're going to go ahead and play episode whatever of Dave. Please enjoy. Hey, everybody, it's Chris. So what I decided to do at the 11th hour is put together a little bit of episodes 1, 2, and 3 of Dave. And so that's what you'll hear here. It's kind of a sampling from 3 different episodes. So the sound quality is going to jump a little bit from episode to episode just because I was experimenting with different sounds. But hopefully it'll be somewhat seamless. So please enjoy samples from episodes 1, 2, and 3 of Dave.
Oh, dude, I have fun trivia about the Three's Company theme. I got kind of obsessed with listening for secret messages and songs like when I was a teenager.
Yeah.
So I'd take things and I would reverse them and listen to the songs backwards.
Yeah.
And the Three's Company song, if you reverse it, I shit you not, it says, "You can get with me, not with a condom on." I shit you not. Do it. Throw it into any audio clip. Play that song backwards, and it's just like, "You could get with me. You could get with me. No other condom on." It's bizarre.
Okay, we need that for the show.
Dude, I shit you not. It's in there. It's mind blowing.
These are the days I know. 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 Some of them are Davids,
but most of us are Daves.
They all have their own hands, but they come from different moms.
Welcome to Dave, episode 3. This week, the 1993 comedy classic, Dave.
We are the Daves he knows. We are the Daves he knows.
These are the days I know.
We are the Daves he knows.
These are the days.
Hey everybody, welcome to Dave. I'm the Green Korean.
I'm Octopus Caveman.
So I found out something this week that blew my mind, and I'm really embarrassed that we didn't do our homework and find out beforehand, but there is a Dave network in the UK.
What?
It's a TV station, yeah.
No way.
Like we have ABC, CBS, they have a Dave.
God, like I do a podcast with Tracy Morgan, who's in Shrewsbury. She didn't tell me shit about this. She probably has the Dave Network, and she didn't say anything about this.
Ask her. Seriously. How does she not know? Or how did she not bring it up?
I don't know. Like, I'm kind of mad at her for not telling me. Oh, like the TV network, Dave?
Here's what's cool about the Dave Network. They have a show called Hoff the Record, starring David Hasselhoff.
No way. Is it like a reality show?
It's a mockumentary where he plays David Hasselhoff trying to revive his career.
That's kind of awesome.
So one of these Daves, we have to cover the
One
Dave
of these
TV.
Daves.
We have to cover the Dave TV Network and Hoff the Record.
Oh, we totally do. I got to watch some of those. Wait, are all their shows on the network starring or about a Dave? Like, did we just accidentally steal this idea from a British TV show?
No, they got a bunch of other cool shows too. Yeah.
They've got Coulier Your Jets, which is a mockumentary about Dave Coulier. And Dave's Follies, starring Dave Folly.
See, if they were smart, that'd be the way to go. See, that's where we one up them. Our show is exclusively about Dave.
Nobody should give us a TV network to run.
So, something else that I did this week, I cut the cord. I canceled my cable.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Feels good, doesn't it?
No.
No?
I'm going through cable withdrawals, man.
You know what? I did that about 3 years ago now, and it feels great.
Okay, here's what I find so funny about cutting the cord. So we've been wanting to do it for a couple weeks now, and we've been trying to wean ourselves over to like Hulu or Netflix or some sort of evening entertainment.
Yeah.
Because it's so comfortable to just turn on the TV and have 50 some odd channels, and maybe you'll run across Goodfellas, maybe you'll run across Indiana Jones. Those are always cool to just be like, oh, check it out. Jurassic Park. That's like 1, 2, or 3 is always on somewhere.
Yeah, there is something so much more satisfying about stumbling across something great.
Yeah.
Even if it's like, Point Break for like the 17th time that month.
Yeah. And you just know where you are in the movie. You can pick it up because you've seen it 15 times.
Yeah.
Now I turn on the TV. Man, there's like Airwolf. And
Ugh, yuck.
today I saw some weird Brady's show. It was like the Brady show after the Brady Bunch, not the Brady Brides, the one after that, the drama.
Oh, the one that's like horrifying and what's her name's an alcoholic and
yeah, like Greg's got the huge porn stash.
Yeah, it's depressing.
I completely forgot about that Brady show. And I think Peter or Bobby gets into a car accident and gets into a wheelchair.
Dude, it's so bananas. I don't know why they took that direction with that show, but it's so bizarre. I can't believe they're still like playing that on the air.
It just shows that I just never. Oh man! Although I did run across an episode of What's Happening last night. That was awesome.
See, I liked that. Like I grew up without cable.
Yeah.
And I also watch TV at like weird hours. So I'd be up at like 3:00 in the morning. I've watched every episode of Cheers, MASH, Coach, like just the weirdest shows come on in the middle of the night, and since there's nothing else on, you just kind of ride it out. Like I can't tell you how many hours of infomercials I've watched just because that's what was on.
So it's been an interesting adventure, and it does feel good to not pay for TV anymore. So
it was crazy though, because I would have times where it's like 4:00 in the morning, there used to be a double episode of Happy Days, 2 in a row. Then you'd get a Laverne and Shirley, and then there'd be like the early morning news. Yeah. But I would just be sitting there at 4:00 in the morning watching Happy Days, just like, who else is watching this right now?
Just you and Scott Baio.
Yeah. Just the saddest life for Scott Baio. Him just like watching those Happy Days. It's like, killed it on that one.
Yeah. Scott Baio doesn't have a TiVo. He's just going to get up at 4 a.m. to watch.
I love the idea of him just on the couch, waking up at like 3:30, having a coffee to watch himself and just talking in the third person. Just like, way to go, Scott. Killed it on that joke. Boom. Joni does love Chachi.
By the way, there is a slang word for dick in Korean that sounds remarkably like Chachi.
Yeah, and I heard they had to change the name of the show when they brought it over.
Yeah, but just, Koreans got such a kick out of Joni Loves Chachi.
I mean, wouldn't you?
Oh, hell yes. I would watch any show called Joni Loves Dong.
You want to do the Dave news?
I have some excellent Dave news stories. So let's go ahead and jump into the Dave news.
Joining us now here in Los Angeles, Dave. That's his name, Dave.
You know why I love the news? It's so topical.
I love that intro so much. I've got a little bit of Dave news right off the top, though. Last week, we lost Prince, and Dave Chappelle had a tribute show, and he used this new service called Yonder. I'm not sure if you've heard of it. YONDR.
No.
He didn't want any cell phones to be in the show. Mm-hmm. So this service Yonder, they give you sort of this like neoprene pouch. You put your phone in there and then walk in, and when you're in a designated area, it won't allow you to open up the pouch to prevent people from taking, shaky cell phone camera footage of stuff or
recording concerts.
Yeah, or flash photography, which can cause some people to have seizures, things like that.
Yeah.
So this Yonder company, I just thought this was an interesting talking point because instead of asking you to put your cell phone someplace, they're giving you a thing and asking you to put your cell phone into it. I don't know. It's an interesting idea to me, but I just thought it's kind of neat.
No, that is cool because that's a huge thing with a lot of comedians. They're really irritated with people who shoot video and then post their content online. So this is huge. This is a really big thing. And also, hey man, awesome for Dave to do that for Prince.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Dave Chappelle probably introduced a lot of people to Prince. I mean, I'm sure there's young kids who are just in that right age group where they weren't familiar enough with Prince and then sort of saw the Chappelle show and were like, yeah, let's check this guy out.
Oh, absolutely. The Charlie Murphy Prince basketball story is legend.
It's so good. But yeah, I just thought that was really interesting. I think in the future, this will probably be done just wirelessly somehow. They'll just signal block or whatever. They'll have some ability to do that rather than just putting it in a pouch. But we're on the way to taking back some sort of personal workspace. And I don't know, the ability to just grab video anywhere, everywhere. I think we've gone a little nuts with it.
Pretty much that seems like the only solution. You got to put it in a pouch and then you can't open the pouch.
Well, I immediately thought of Michael Richards. Because if it wasn't for the video of that going down, that just would have been a story.
Yeah.
I don't think it would have had the impact that it did. Richard Pryor, who I love, said some pretty anti-gay stuff at one point at a benefit, and there was no video of it, so I don't feel like it was. It hasn't lived on as long as the Michael Richards rant.
Well, plus, that was a different time.
Yeah,
we weren't as PC back then, so people just kind of shrugged it off, whereas these days people seem to get their panties in a twist over every little thing.
Well, the Michael Richards one is pretty bad.
The dude had a huge meltdown. Like, in his heart, is he a racist? I have no idea.
Yeah,
I don't know.
He looks like an angry guy, though. I mean, you watch Seinfeld outtakes, and he looks like he's just barely holding it together.
Yeah, I just think that, like the Richards thing, he was just a comedian, quote unquote, who just got so desperate and wanted to punch back at a heckler, he just went for the biggest card you could.
Right, he went nuclear with it. Yeah.
And I think that's just because he's not that talented as a comedian. That's the only place he could go that he thought he could, quote unquote, win.
Yeah.
So, I mean, not excusing it or anything, but he just happened to do it in front of 3 or 4 cell phone video cameras.
Yeah. I mean, I've gone nuclear with people before. I usually don't go race nuclear, but I know that feeling of losing control and then immediately being like, oh God, what did I say?
Yeah. So, but I think this is what you're talking about is a really cool product.
I think so too. It's going to be interesting. I'm sure at some point in the future, we're going to run into this, go and do a concert or something. You're going to drop it in a bag and away you go.
Yeah, because it's still on your person, so you don't have to worry about someone stealing it. Like, instead of saying, hey, leave it at the door, you just, here, put in this pouch. You can carry the pouch around, no problem. And then when you leave, pouch unlocks.
And apparently here, once you left the sort of show area, you could walk into the foyer, hold the pouch above your head and it would unlock, so you could step out and take a phone call. You would feel your phone vibrating in your pocket, step out, wave it above your head so it unlocks, and you can still get that phone call if it's that important.
Well, that's super cool.
I think so too. I never thought this was the thing that we needed. I just thought, oh, we're just in the era of cell phones everywhere now and video is everywhere, but we're sort of taking it back a little bit. It's neat. I mean, I'm old school, so
yeah,
it's kind of neat to know that I'm not going to have that. Like, I've had to watch concerts through somebody's iPad before because it's just held up in front of my face, and the best possible vantage point is to just watch the recording video through like a 9-inch iPad.
Yeah. Here's the news story that I have. Barack Obama's retirement plans. The president takes part in a Dave Chappelle type skit. I'm not going to read this, but I'll just explain it. Every year they do the White House Correspondents' Dinner, and in the final year, they usually put together a funny video to play featuring the president. Did you see this?
No, I didn't.
Okay, then this is interesting because I remember when Clinton was exiting office and it was called The Last Days, and it just showed a lame duck president, Bill Clinton, just kind of moping around the office because he had basically nothing to do, and he would sit in the laundry room and watch the dryer go around and around. And this one plays on the fact that Obama will be staying in Washington after he finishes his presidency because his daughter still has 2 more years of high school. So he and Michelle are going to stay in Washington. And so he's trying to figure out what is he going to do for the 2 years while they stay in Washington. And it's a funny video. It's really funny.
I don't like this like one bit, by the way. Like it bothers me because I think it's going to, like, the humor kind of fucks with your legacy as like a world leader. Like, there's no footage of like George Washington. Dude's just like portraits of him crossing the Delaware. There's no, like, him making a joke about his, like, shitty teeth, you know? Like, this kind of stuff bothers me a little bit because it's like, Mr. President, you sure you want to fuck with your legacy? Like, first black president, maybe we just cool it with the humor stuff a little bit and just be this larger-than-life character.
But no, this is actually kind of funny. Like, it opens up with the president and Chuck Todd on TV calls him the couch commander in chief. And Obama turns off the TV. He's like, fuck you, Chuck Todd.
I mean, the guy is a funny guy. I just think that if I was advising him, I'd be like, dude, just chill out with the humor because this stuff's going to exist in perpetuity now. I don't know. If I was one of those dudes who was going to be president, I would want to be one of those dudes where they just looked at that painting or just like, damn, that guy was a serious motherfucker and like took care of business, you know?
Yeah, but, you know, it's all in the spirit of fun, especially at the White House Correspondents' Dinner. I mean, I got a few of his lines from his speech there that are pretty funny. But
yeah, there was a couple of, like, his Trump joke was killer. I heard that.
Yeah. So here's Obama's joke from the Correspondents' Dinner about Trump. He says, there's one area where Trump's experience could be invaluable. Closing down Guantanamo. Trump knows a thing or two about running a waterfront property into the ground.
Dude, you got a pretty good Obama impression. It's not bad. It's a bummer we didn't start this show 4 years ago. 8 years ago, God. What was his... I like the one joke I heard about him going out and getting him some sweet Tubmans.
Okay, this is about Hillary making a private speech on Wall Street, kind of poking fun at her. If this material goes well, I'll use it at Goldman Sachs next year. Earn me some serious Tubmans.
That's good. That's good.
That's a great joke.
I'm pretty stoked about her getting on some currency.
Yeah, I'm all for it.
I know there's a lot of people that have shit on it a little bit, though, with her essentially being bought and sold with that currency.
Oh, yeah, but that's just people shitting on it because they don't know what else to do. All they do is shit on things. Man, just go out and celebrate the fact that we have an African-American woman on currency. Let's just be happy about that. That's cool.
Yeah, and she made it to the paper because, you know, when they throw you on a dollar coin, everybody's going to be disappointed when they get you. Like, fuck, do you have it? Can I get a one? Like, people hated those dollar coins.
Oh,
once
yeah.
you make it to paper, you're good. Even if they put her on the dollar bill, but she's getting on the 20.
That's awesome, man.
I think so too, but you know,
Although I think Mikey Whitfield made a great joke on Twitter, something about the sad day is when someone buys a vial of crack with a Tubman.
Oh, dude, that's going to happen. People are going to roll her up and snort coke with her, too. Oh, shit.
But that's just a great joke. Let's hear it from Mikey Whitfield, everybody.
That is a good joke, but
Yeah.
oh, man, I didn't think about it like that. You guys go break the Tubman if you're going to do that. If you're going to buy some crack, do it with a couple of tens.
No, you can't do it with Hamilton's. Hamilton's cool now, too. You got to get 4 Lincolns.
But he freed the slaves.
You know what? Get rid of those Sacagaweas. You don't like them anyway.
Yeah, go trade it in. Get 20 Sacagaweas and buy your crack with that. Well, I mean, it's going to have Andrew Jackson on one side and Harriet Tubman on the other. So I'll guarantee you at least like at one point somebody's going to flip it over so it's Jackson face up.
What's the etiquette if you're snorting coke? Do you do it with Jackson out or Tubman out?
Yeah, I mean, I think Jackson on the inside so that, well, I don't know. You don't want Tubman looking at you. That one's tough.
They should give her a really judgmental, disapproving look.
Oh, dude, we should do that with all money. It should just be like them just looking like sad or just like Lincoln covering his eyes. Benjamin Franklin's just got his head in his hands. Just like
No, you got on one side, you got the happy Benjamin. On the other side, you have the sad, shameful Benjamin. So depending if you're doing coke, you just roll it a certain way. Or just a judgmental Benjamin with like the glasses down, him looking over the top of his frames at you.
dude, I like this idea of judgmental money. This is a good one. This is good. I like this a lot. Then you get it out and just, I mean, I swear, like, if money had a picture of my kid on it, I would, like, rethink every single purchase. I'd be like, maybe I don't feel like a Milky Way. Maybe I'll save this, buy some toys.
Yeah, you know what? I think we're onto something. You go to pay for a hooker, you got 5, or not 5.
Cheap hookers.
I don't know what a hooker goes for. I was going to say 5 Benjamins, 5 sad Benjamins looking right back at you. But is that what a hooker goes for? Is that too much? 500?
500. I mean, I think like I watched an episode of Cops and there was a girl that got busted for giving $10 hand jobs out.
Oh, okay. So
and this was like in the 90s. So I think a hooker can cost you anything from like $10 up to whatever the Bunny Ranch costs, like in the thousands. I think 5 Benjamins, you'd get yourself like a nice middle of the road hooker, right?
No, here's how it works, man. Okay, so you get Hamilton crying. So that way if you're getting a $10 hand job, that's appropriate. But a happy Benjamin, happy Franklin, because they're paying $500 for a hooker, you're doing okay.
Even $100, you're getting out of the like living on crack street, like tweaker hooker that's just cruising out in front of the motel room. Like, you know, a $100 hooker, that's a motel room transaction. That's not in your car in the parking lot of an Arby's, you know?
All right, let's wrap up the Dave news.
Let's get into our featured Dave.
All right, so this week we decided to take on the movie Dave, the 1993 classic directed by Ivan Reitman. Oh man, this is such a charming film. I had such a good time rewatching this.
Dude, me too. I remembered liking this movie, but rewatching it, I realized that I love this movie.
It's so optimistic as opposed to a lot of the other political movies that have come out in the recent years. They're typically cynical. This one is hopeful.
I was really happy to revisit this and have it hold up as well as it did.
It holds up, but I think it also holds up for you and I because we remember the 90s. And some of these jokes that are in this movie are set around the climate of Bill Clinton being accused of being a womanizer.
Yes, there is a lot of that in there. Watching this, I realized that Sigourney Weaver is a beautiful woman who suffers from having a horrible haircut. Have you noticed that she looks, I look back at these movies and she looks awful in these movies. And then you see her in Galaxy Quest with like normal hair and you're like, oh, wow, she's looking all right. She's a beautiful woman who just has a terrible haircut choice.
That might be it, because I always thought that she looked a little mannish.
Yeah.
But you're right. She's hot in Galaxy Quest.
She is. And it's one of her later roles. Like, that's her as like a hot older lady.
Yeah.
She was a young lady in Aliens, and she looks like shit because she's got the man cut.
Yeah. But this movie, she's delightful. She pulls off the romantic comedy very well.
It's a little odd because she sort of has this romantic connection with a man who looks exactly like her husband in a coma.
Okay, yeah, weird. Weird.
There's some odd stuff in here, but overall, I think this was wonderful. And Ving Rhames is so good in this because he's serious but likable.
And he has hair.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that was real. I kept watching thinking maybe it was a wig. But it's just, I thought it was crazy because he's one of these guys who can do a lot with a little, and I don't think he gets credit for that. But if you watch him in this, and then you watch him in like Pulp Fiction, very serious roles, but very differently serious. In this, he's likable, and then, in Pulp Fiction, you're like, don't mess with Marcellus Wallace.
Yeah, yeah.
I think that's hard to pull off, to pull off minimal effort, kind of serious guy, and twist it one way and make it a likable character, and another way and make it a hard ass.
Oh, and Ben Kingsley. Does that man ever age?
Dude, he does not.
That dude has sold his soul to the devil, because he looks exactly the same in 93 that he does today.
Yeah.
And the other thing about Ben Kingsley, I swear to God, I don't know. Is he British or is he American?
He's British.
Is he really?
Yeah. He's fantastic, though.
Yeah, he's great. He's great in this movie.
He's, it's great to see him not do something super heavy either. This movie, I mean, it's got its serious moments, but this is a pretty lighthearted movie overall.
Yeah. Oh, and a nice little early appearance from Laura Linney.
Yeah, Laura Linney's in this. Bonnie Hunt is in this.
Bonnie Hunt, where was she?
She was the tour guide.
Oh, we're walking, we're stopping.
Yeah.
Okay, right. Okay, got it.
I love Bonnie Hunt so much. I think she's the best.
Yeah. So should we go through, briefly run through the plot?
Yeah, I mean, I guess we should just give people the overall deal.
Yeah, I mean, basically the plot of Dave is you have the president of the United States who's kind of a dick, and he needs a stand-in to come in and take his place for a public appearance, one quick public appearance. So they find a guy named Dave Kovic. He's a little local town guy, big heart. He works at a temp agency finding people jobs. So the Secret Service go and pick up Dave. They bring him in so the president of the United States can go have an affair with his mistress. So Dave stands in for one appearance, waves to the crowd, gets in the car, drives off. Well, the president has a stroke, and so now Dave has to fill in as the president of the United States, and that's the basic plot of the movie.
Charles Grodin, who I love, is in this and just great.
Oh, they got a great scene with Charles Grodin where the president of the United States, which Dave is filling in for, wants to save a homeless shelter. So he needs to pull together $650 million out of the budget. So he calls his buddy, the accountant, to come into the White House. And he just tells him, dude, I need you to help me to cut the budget.
I noted when I was watching this that Charles Grodin is the Cameron to Kevin Kline's Ferris.
Oh. Yeah, kind of. Yeah, I see that.
But I love Grodin. Man, I wish that guy had done more.
Getting back to that budget scene when he's actually cutting the budget with his senior staff, when Dave is cutting the budget, the way that he cuts the budget is great because it just makes a nice little comment on stupid spending by our government on, they're spending money on things like, oh, this is a program that makes people feel good about their cars. And so the president says, well, do we need a program for people to feel good about cars they already bought, or do we need a homeless shelter?
Yeah, that was brilliant. He was like, well, I'm sure that's very important, but would you rather that or an 8-year-old girl sleep on the streets tonight? Because I don't want to tell him. Do you want to tell him? That was a brilliant little scene.
Yeah, so you got Do Good Dave with the power of the presidency using it to do good things, up to the point where he starts a new jobs bill where he's trying to get his new motto is, I want to get a job for every American citizen. Now, the antagonist of this movie is played, what is his name? Is played by
Frank Langella.
Yeah, Frank Langella.
Who will always be Skeletor to me. He's great in Robot and Frank, too.
Oh, that's one movie that I do want to see.
It's fun.
Yeah, because every movie that I've seen him in, he's the biggest prick.
He is. He's just got a great dick face, doesn't he?
Oh, he's got an awesome dick face. He has resting bitch face.
He does.
And he plays a great villain because his political, like his goals in this movie is he wants to become the vice president so that way he could get rid of Dave and then become the president. It's very House of Cards.
It is.
Yeah.
They go with me on this, but I just had the weirdest thought about Frank Langella.
Yeah.
If I could pick one person to watch eat a shit sandwich, I would pick him because not only would he have the best like shit sandwich face, he would also be able to speak very eloquently about why he didn't like it and exactly what the experience was doing to him. This is undignified.
I thought you were going to say you would pick Frank Langella because his expression wouldn't change. Because he would already have the shit sandwich face.
Okay. He's got a killer voice, so it would just be so great too. Just like, this sandwich doesn't smell very good. I'm not looking forward to this. I feel this is beneath me.
All right, what would Frank Langella sound like if he had to pick up his keys out of a bowl of poop?
Like, I'm going to need a lot of Purell once I'm finished with this. This consistency is displeasing.
Okay, all right. Frank Langella just threw up all over down the front of his shirt. What does he sound like?
I apologize for what just happened here. This is quite embarrassing. I need to clean myself up. I shall recuse myself of this evening. Dude, I love this. Just a deadpan Frank Langella just doing disgusting things.
All right, so getting back to Dave. So the movie ends with Kevin Kline and, oh, by the way, I forgot to mention that he and Sigourney Weaver, at some point, Sigourney Weaver figures out that Dave is not her husband. And so she and Dave kind of start to hit it off a little bit. And so the movie ends with Kevin Kline giving a speech to the Joint House of Congress. And he's saying that there was a scandal and it's completely my fault. Oh, which I forgot one big plot point. He figures out that the vice president is a great guy and worthy of becoming president. So having established that, he's giving this speech and Dave pretends to have a stroke in front of the media, in front of Joint House of Congress. And so they wheel Dave out on a gurney. They switch his body with the actual president's body into the, should I have given a spoiler alert for a movie from 93?
No, screw them. If you haven't seen Dave by now, too bad.
Sorry.
Yeah, it wouldn't steal from the enjoyment of the film, I don't think.
Okay, so they wheel him into the ambulance, and Dave switches places with him, and Dave walks off into the night, goes back to his hometown, and runs for a local office. And Sigourney Weaver joins him, and they live happily ever after.
See, this is so bizarre to me, though, because she's just gonna be with a guy who looks exactly like her old husband?
He's a better version. He's a better version of her husband.
I guess that would just be weird, though, dude. Like, you can't do that. And then he's running for office. Like, why is it that he's just not in everyday life just like, you look exactly like the president? Or just random people just like, excuse me, Mr. President. At one point, when he's pretending to be the president, he gets pulled over by a cop, and the cop isn't even like, hey, you look exactly like the president, and the White House is 2 miles from here. Like, isn't that weird?
Yeah, but he's driving like a Volvo, and he's dressed in plain clothes. He's not in a suit, and the guy kind of gives him one of those looks like you kind of look like the president, but he's able to pull it off that he's not because he acts so goofy.
Yeah, I think it's maybe just a context thing. You see him in a tuxedo on TV, and he looks like the president. You see him in a Volvo in a sweater.
Yeah.
Just a dude that kind of looks like the president.
Yeah. And also, there's a nice little subplot with Ving Rhames acting as his personal Secret Service agent.
Dude, that stuff is delightful.
Yeah. Oh, man, this movie, I touched on it just a little bit before, and I looked up a few of the other political comedies and dramas that have come out. There's Wag the Dog, Bulworth, Primary Colors. All of these movies take a crack at the presidency or government, but none of them do it with as much hope and optimism as Dave. And I think that's what makes Dave such a great movie.
Yeah, it's fantastic. It's 94% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah.
Just deservedly.
Yeah. Which also, by the way, it really brings into focus the speech that he gives at the end when he's talking to Congress. That speech, you know what? I'm going to play a little bit of it right here.
You see, I forgot that I was hired to do a job for you, and that was just a temp job at that. I forgot that I had 250 million people who were paying me to make their lives a little bit better, and I didn't live up to my part of the bargain. I think there are certain things you should expect from your president. I ought to care more about you than I do about me. I ought to care more about what's right than I do about what's popular. I ought to be willing to give up this whole thing for something I believe in. Because if I'm not, then maybe I don't belong here in the first place.
That speech really kind of makes you look around at the two clown candidates that we have now running for president, and it makes you sad. And just him saying that he forgot that he's supposed to be a servant of the people or something like that. And not there to serve himself, but there to serve the people. And you look at the two people who are running, and they are just there to serve themselves.
I highly recommend this. This is a super great movie.
You will not regret having watched this movie. It's not a movie where you laugh all the way through, but you feel good pretty much the whole movie. And the score really helps with that.
I was going to mention that. This has a score that is better than the movie should be. You know, like usually for like a comedy, even like a lighthearted or sort of feel-good comedy, you wouldn't have a score that's this good. This is a remarkable score.
It is a great score. And I just thought this could be kind of fun. Well, you know what? Before I do that, I got a couple of fun Dave tidbits.
All right.
So the set of the Oval Office for Dave was built on the Warner Brothers lot and has become a permanent part of Warner Brothers. And so many times when you see an Oval Office scene, they're using the set of Dave.
Oh, wow. So that's probably the West Wing Oval Office and all that.
I'm not sure about the West Wing. I know the Pelican Brief was shot there. Hot Shots Part 2.
Oh, the best Hot Shots.
Absolute Power. Basically, Warner Brothers movies where you need an Oval Office, they use the Dave set.
That's awesome to know. Every time I see an Oval Office now, I'm going to think it's either the Dave set or the one that's at the Nixon Library.
Yeah. You know something else that I found out?
Huh.
Set of Gilligan's Island, the lagoon, still there.
No way. It's on the lot?
Yeah.
Okay, because I know there's some stuff that was on Fanning Island, but it's just there. Just that lagoon is just on the lot.
Yeah, they were saying that as some of the other permanent sets that are there on Warner Brothers lot, Gilligan's Island.
Man, I love me some Gilligan's Island.
I know you do. This was almost a Gilligan's Island podcast.
Oh, I wanted to talk about Oliver Stone.
Oh,
how great is his cameo?
He has probably the best cameo of the 90s.
It's him and Larry King, and he's talking about this conspiracy theory that the president after the stroke, you can tell in his face that he looks different.
Yeah, and this is right about the time JFK came out, and so everyone thought that Oliver Stone was kind of a conspiracy nut for thinking that there was more than one gunman on the Hill.
Yeah, and I think it's just another one of those moves where you do Dave and you kind of poke fun at yourself. It makes me think like you're an all right guy. Oliver Stone's probably got a decent sense of humor, probably an okay dude.
Yeah, and also a whole bunch of Washington cameos in this movie.
Yeah, and I think probably because it's sort of a positive message in it that you could get, you know, Republicans and Democrats. End of the day, everybody loves the country and wants to do a good job, right?
Yeah. Although the movie is very biased because whenever they had a Democrat on screen, they were saying that how much they liked Dave. Whenever they had a Republican on screen, they're like, Dave's such a dick.
Well, there's one guy who's a senator, and they're talking about the jobs plan, And they're like, what do you think about it? And his response is like, sounds like my plan that I came up with 4 years ago when I ran for president. And I need to look that guy up because I'm just curious if he was just like throwing in a little shameless plug for himself.
God, was that Chuck Schumer who said that?
No, I think it was Paul something.
It wasn't Paul Saugus.
No. I don't know. I mean, I'm like apolitical. I'm a dude who just doesn't want to pay attention.
I was hardcore political for a while, and then I just got tired of following the bullshit because both the left and the right spew the same amount of bullshit, and they both call each other on it. And depending on where your personality fits, you're either going to believe, the Republicans or the Democrats. People who are kind of into order believe in Republicans. The people who have big hearts believe in the Democrats. For me, I happen to be both. And so I could look at both sides and say, you know what, Republicans, Democrats, both of you guys are full of shit.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, to me, it just seems like everything is a little bit bigger than just pick a team out of two teams.
That's how it works. Whoever we get, if we get Hillary, we'll pretty much get a Republican House and Senate. If we get Trump, we'll get a Democrat House and Senate, and that's going to be the counterbalance, and we'll get another 4 to 8 years of nothing really happening.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. I didn't expect to get political, but this seemed like the perfect episode to kind of delve into that a little bit.
Oh, absolutely. If not here, where?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of this podcast. We're going to go everywhere, man. We're going to go into politics, religion. We'll go to light, fluffy stuff. We'll talk about sad money. We'll go everywhere. And
Sad Money sounds like the worst rapper name ever. He combines the worlds of like emo music with rap. He's just like the bummer rapper.
That's the name that Will Smith's son should have. Sad Money.
Sad Money.
Yeah.
It's just like rich kid bummer, like rich kid blues, but raps,
Oh, have you heard his music? God, what is his name? What's Will Smith's kid name? Jaden Pinkett Smith.
Is it? Did they hyphenate the names?
No, I don't think so. I just kind of gave it to him. Jaden Smith. He's the saddest rapper in the world.
Is he really?
Oh man, hold on.
It's the one to be ghetto kid. Yes, I'm about to level with all of my homies, all of my fellows. It's crazy, man. You messing with the misfits, man. I doubt that we gon' settle it. That's because lately I've been sipping on a soda and I'm chilling with a hottie, and she's really into yoga, my baby. Love noticed what a roller, and she kissed me on the lips every time a joker show up, but
and that's where we go. We go from politics to Jaden Smith's sad raps.
Sad Money is amazing. Oh, that's funny. I had no idea.
Oh my God, it's the saddest shit ever.
That kid needs to cheer up.
If only he could become president, then he could be the face of the $20 bill.
One day. All right, you want to have a Dave off?
Do you want to pick it up Dave off tomorrow? Do you have time?
You know what? We've gone pretty long with this one. We can just do a Dave off for the next episode.
Okay, cool. Let's do that because I got a killer Dave.
Yeah, I'm disappointed in my Dave, but I really want to give him a plug because he's a fellow podcaster and runs a network.
Okay, who do you got?
Let me find him real quick. It's Diamond Dave at David Meyer, MAIER7. Diamond Daveski. He's a podcaster, host of the Diamond Dave Show, Diamond Minds, and Chronicles Unwritten. He's got 3 podcasts going.
Oh, cool. All right. Well, let's show a little love to this Dave. And if you're hearing this, go ahead and give him a follow and a few likes.
Follow that Dave.
Retweet that Dave.
Yeah.
And he'll look down and be like, what the hell? Why are all these people following me? And at some point we'll reach out to him and let him know what's going on. But we thought it'd be kind of funny to to find a good Dave to follow. So that's our default Dave for the week.
Yeah. Follow that Dave.
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, yeah, I think this was good.
Good times, man. And we hope you come back and join us. We're looking forward to using Dave as a cover to present just really cool stuff in pop culture.
Yeah, man. So we'll have to figure out who we're doing next week as an in.
Because it won't be heavy lifting because most of it is committed to memory. Why don't we kick it off in honor of David Bowie? Let's start it off with David Bowie.
Let's do it. Yeah, that's a great way to start it off.
Cool. Okay, so come back next week and we're going to talk about David Bowie's music. If you would like to get in touch with us, you can reach us over on Twitter at Dave Podcast. You can also find us at davepodcast.com. Our email address is dave@davepodcast.com. Okay, buddy. So I'm the Green Korean.
I'm Octopus Caveman.
Like sands through the hourglass, these are the Daves of our lives.
We are the Daves he knows he knows. We are the Daves he knows.
These are the Daves I know.
We are the Daves he knows.
These are the
Daves.
You're still here. It's over. Go home.